Imagine you are in your absolute deepest sleep. Your heart rate slows down.
Right.
Your breathing falls into this very steady, totally vulnerable rhythm. And in the pitch black of your bedroom, a tiny predator is just standing on your chest.
Yeah, silently monitoring your vital signs.
Exactly. Just deciding if you're still functioning normally. Welcome to the deep dive, by the way.
Glad to be here.
Because today, we are entirely dismantling the warm, fuzzy illusions you probably hold about your pet's affection.
It is a genuinely unsettling image, honestly, when you strip away the romanticized narrative we usually apply to our animals.
Oh, totally.
We have this deep-seated psychological need to be loved by the creatures in our homes.
Right, and because of that need, we immediately translate every physical contact into our own human emotional vocabulary.
We really do.
Like a cat curls up, extends a single paw, rests it lightly on your arm, and the immediate human response is just, oh, look how much they love me.
It's comforting. I mean, we want to be the center of their affectionate world.
We project human characteristics onto them because the alternative that we are sharing our living space with an entirely alien intelligence is a lot harder to process.
Operating on a completely different set of biological imperatives, yeah.
Mhm.
But today's source material forces us to confront exactly that alien intelligence.
And you listening right now, you're an essential third participant in this intellectual unpacking we're about to do.
Absolutely.
We are going to decode the secret, highly specific, and sometimes, frankly, chilling messages hidden in a single, seemingly innocent paw tap.
It's wild stuff.
It is, and our insights today are pulled directly from a fascinating YouTube transcript from a channel called Calm Logic.
The title of that video is something else.
Yeah, it's ominously titled, "If Your Cat Puts Their Paw on You, It Is Not Affection. You Are Missing This Message."
That title alone functions as an immediate correction of our core assumptions.
Right.
Like, it doesn't invite a debate at all. It just issues a verdict.
It absolutely grabs you. Okay, let's unpack this. What's brilliant about the structure of this source text is how the creator speaks directly to the psychology of the audience right from the jump.
Oh, yeah. They specifically warn the viewer not to skip ahead.
They promise a revelation that, in their own words, makes most people go silent.
It's such a bold rhetorical move to say, essentially, you are fundamentally misunderstanding the creature living in your own house.
It is bold, but as we unpack the 5 distinct behavioral patterns outlined in this transcript, we find the creator's claims are deeply grounded in feline biology.
And behavioral science, too.
Right. So let's start with the most foundational misunderstanding the text addresses, which is the concept of ownership.
The text completely dismantles the traditional human-pet hierarchy here.
The creator states, and I want to quote this exactly because the phrasing is so striking, your cat does not see you as an owner. In its world, you are territory.
That is the absolute erasure of the human ego right there.
It really is.
Think about the mental framework of pet ownership. We buy the food, we clean the litter box, we pay the exorbitant veterinary bills.
Which are not cheap, by the way.
Exactly. We hold the lease or the mortgage to the physical structure we both live in. So naturally, we assume we are the masters of the domain.
We think we're the main characters.
Right. But Calm Logic is arguing that, from the feline perspective, we are not the masters. We are simply landscape. We are topography.
Topography. I'm trying to process the implications of that.
Mm.
The text explains the mechanism behind this, pointing out that cats have scent glands located right under their paws.
Yes.
So every single time a cat places its paw on you, it isn't necessarily reaching out for a hug.
No, it is depositing its scent.
The transcript describes this action as stamping. It's communicating a very clear message to any other hypothetical cat that might wander by.
Do not touch what is mine.
Exactly.
To really grasp the weight of this, we need to dive into the biology of feline communication for a second.
Please do.
We, as humans, are primarily visual and auditory creatures. We navigate the world through sight and sound. But cats operate heavily in a chemical landscape.
Scent is their primary language.
Scent glands release pheromones, which are these complex chemical compounds that broadcast a massive amount of information.
So when you feel that soft little paw pad against your skin, you are registering a simple tactile sensation.
Right, you interpret it as physical contact, a bonding moment.
Because that's all our human sensory equipment allows us to perceive.
Exactly. You are completely blind to the chemical transaction that just occurred. You can't smell it. You can't see it.
But the cat has just painted a glowing, invisible territorial boundary right across your arm.
They are interacting with a chemical reality that you don't even know exists.
Calm logic uses a phrase to describe the human's role in this chemical reality that I found incredibly humbling.
What's that?
The creator says that while people see this touch and think it's a profound display of love, the cat is sometimes simply saying, "You are my chair."
You are my chair.
Yeah,
If we analyze that metaphor, it reveals a complete objectification of the human being. I mean, what is a chair?
it's utility.
It exists purely for the comfort and use of the one who sits in it. A chair has no agency. A chair does not command authority.
A chair is just a static piece of property.
Exactly. The ego assumes the cat is showing profound emotional attachment, but the cat is merely performing routine territorial maintenance on a favorite piece of furniture.
It makes me think of going to a crowded movie theater. You walk in, you find the absolute perfect seat right in the middle of the middle row.
The best spot.
But you need to go get popcorn, and you don't want to lose that prime real estate. What do? You drape your jacket over the back of the folding chair.
Right.
Now, you don't leave your jacket there because you have a deep, emotional, loving relationship with that specific chair.
You aren't expressing affection for the upholstery.
Right. You don't love the chair. You are leaving a clear marker. You are asserting ownership.
So that when a stranger walks down the aisle looking for a spot, they see the jacket and immediately understand this territory is claimed. Move along.
That is precisely what the source text suggests the cat is doing with its scent glands.
That analogy holds up perfectly. And what amplifies the bizarre nature of this dynamic is the persistence of the behavior.
How often they do it.
Yeah, the transcript notes that this marking isn't a one-off event. The text says it happens every day very lightly, very naturally.
It's a daily ritual.
It has to be a daily ritual because chemical markers degrade. Pheromones break down over time due to air circulation, you taking a shower, changing your clothes.
So the cat is waking up, going about its morning routine, and casually refreshing the property lines.
It makes you wonder what it's like to live inside that mind.
Oh, absolutely.
To live inside an invisible, daily renewed olfactory map where the human is simply a moving, breathing landmark.
To the cat, you aren't John or Sarah, the beloved provider. You are warm spot A that requires its daily stamping. And the irony is that we actively encourage this.
We really do.
We are walking around our own homes, completely oblivious, covered in an invisible barcode that only our cats can read.
And when they scan us to update the database, we give them a treat.
We tell them they're a good boy. We literally reward them for turning us into furniture.
Which organically introduces the next layer of this power dynamic.
Let's hear it.
Because if we accept the premise that a cat views a human as a piece of territory like a chair, we have to ask how they interact with that territory when they need it to perform a function.
Right. A chair is static, it just sits there. But humans are dynamic.
Humans can open heavy doors. Humans can manipulate the little tabs on a tin can.
Humans are appliances.
Exactly.
This is where the comm logic transcript moves from the concept of passive territorial marking to active behavioral manipulation.
The text refers to this as using the paw as a button.
The biological vending machine.
The mechanization of the human being. It's
Yeah.
a direct escalation from the "you are a chair" concept.
Uh,
We get upgraded from static furniture to an interactive appliance.
The video outlines incredibly relatable scenarios to illustrate this. You are petting the cat, and then you get distracted and stop.
And what happens?
The cat taps your hand. The text translates this tap as, keep going.
Or you're doing something it dislikes and it taps you. Translation, stop.
It's a binary input system.
It is the absolute simplest, most energy-efficient form of communication.
But the scenario that completely reframed my understanding of my own behavior was the third one the text describes.
Which one was that?
You were just lying still, reading a book or watching TV. The cat approaches, taps you once, makes no sound, and then just looks away.
Okay, yeah.
It isn't begging, it isn't throwing a tantrum, but somehow, as the creator points out, you immediately get up, walk to the kitchen, and get it food.
The text says, just one light touch and you serve it.
The language there is so precise. Just one light touch and you serve it.
What the creator's describing here is a flawless textbook demonstration of operant conditioning.
Let's break that down for a second, because we usually hear that term in the context of humans training animals, right?
Exactly. Operant conditioning is a method of learning that employs rewards and punishments for behavior.
Like with a dog.
Yeah, when you train a dog to sit, you wait for them to perform the action, and then you give them a treat. You are conditioning them to associate the physical action with a positive outcome.
We, the humans, consider ourselves the architects of this behavior.
But logic is arguing that in the feline-human dynamic, the roles are completely reversed. The cat is the behavioral psychologist, and the human is the subject in this Skinner box.
It's the TV remote analogy all over again.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
You sit on the couch, point the plastic remote at the television, press a single button, and the machine performs the desired function.
The channel changes. The volume increases.
Right. And here, the cat places a soft paw on your knee, and the human rises and opens the back door. The cat holds the remote, and we are the television responding to the infrared signal.
And what's truly subversive about this analysis is how it redefines animal intelligence.
How so?
The transcript points out a fascinating correlation. It says, if you notice, the smartest cats are often the quietest ones.
Yes. The text explicitly says they do not need to meow, they just need to tap at the right moment, and you do the rest.
Right.
I find that so interesting because we usually equate intelligence in pets with complexity of expression.
Like a dog that can bark 3 times to indicate a specific need feels smart.
Exactly.
But from an evolutionary biology standpoint, energy conservation is the hallmark of a successful species.
That makes a lot of sense.
Vocalizing, like meowing loudly, pacing back and forth, throwing a tantrum to get your attention, that requires a significant expenditure of caloric energy.
And in a wild environment, it also attracts unwanted attention from larger predators.
It's an inefficient, sloppy way to achieve a goal.
It's the brute force approach.
Precisely. But the highly intelligent cat, according to this text, understands the path of least resistance.
It has studied the human mechanism.
It knows the exact minimum amount of physical output required to trigger the maximum human response. It just needs to press the button.
And the transcript perfectly maps out the resulting feedback loop. It says the more you follow that touch, the more it learns one thing this human can be controlled.
I really have to pause and consider this because it challenges my sense of agency.
Yeah, are we really just biological machines to them?
I mean, humans possess massive cognitive capability. We build skyscrapers, we split the atom.
And yet,
Are we truly just succumbing to a staff dynamic because a 7-pound animal touched our knee? Do we have a choice in the matter?
we do have a choice technically, but the genius of the cat's operant conditioning is that it exploits our own psychological wiring.
We are socially conditioned to respond to gentle physical touch with caregiving behavior.
The cat hacks that social conditioning. You think you are making a conscious, loving decision to open the door. You don't realize you are simply executing a programmed response.
The text is unequivocal about the endpoint of this dynamic.
Yeah.
It states plainly, from that moment, you are no longer the owner, you are the staff.
Every time I think, oh, look at those big eyes, he's so polite tapping me for a tree, and I hand over the salmon paste,
You are actively participating in your own demotion.
I am cementing the reinforcement protocol. If you're listening right now, think about the last time your cat initiated an interaction.
Who moved first?
Who performed subsequent labor? Who was actually training whom in your household?
It happens so seamlessly, wrapped in this guise of quiet companionship, that we completely miss the subjugation taking place in our own living rooms.
Okay, so treating a human like a programmable butler is manipulative. It bruises the ego. But let's be honest, it is mostly benign.
Sure.
You open a door, you dispense a treat, nobody gets hurt. It's a harmless form of domestic mind control.
But calm logic takes a very sharp, very dark turn right after this.
The creator explicitly warns the viewer that those first two concepts, territorial marking and behavioral manipulation, are still mild.
That is the pivotal moment in the transcript. The text announces reason number 3 is what gives people chills.
The entire narrative genre shifts from a quirky observation about spatial dynamics to something deeply visceral, almost predatory.
It really does feel like a psychological thriller at this point.
We move into what I can only call the midnight vital signs monitor.
The text claims that cats possess an acute sensitivity to our biological rhythms.
It states they are far more sensitive to breathing, heart rate, and body condition than you think.
And the scenario the creator paints is guaranteed to make you uneasy.
You are sleeping deeply. Your breathing pattern changes. Or perhaps you remain perfectly still for an extended period.
And out of the darkness, the cat places its paw on you.
The transcript notes the physical sensation of this. It can be sometimes very gently, sometimes more clearly.
And then the creator drops the hammer. It says, it is not playing, it is checking, are you still okay?
The text backs up this chilling premise with real-world stakes.
It mentions documented instances where cats have actually physically woken up their owners because the human was choking.
Or having trouble breathing, or experiencing dangerous respiratory irregularities in the middle of the night.
We need to analyze why this specific behavior elicits that chills reaction from the audience.
Let's look at the environmental context. You are asleep.
Sleep is the ultimate state of human vulnerability. Your consciousness is offline.
Your defensive capabilities are zero. You are entirely surrendered to your environment.
And while you are in this state of absolute biological defenselessness, this apex predator, a miniaturized one, but a predator nonetheless, is standing over you, silently auditing your respiratory function.
Let me offer a plausible counter theory here, because I struggle to immediately accept that my cat is running an EKG on me in the dark.
Okay, what's your theory?
Couldn't it just be a matter of thermodynamics?
How do you mean?
Human bodies generate a lot of heat, especially the torso,
Right.
and breathing creates a subtle, rhythmic rocking motion. Couldn't the cat just be seeking out the warmest, most mechanically soothing spot on the bed? Why assume they're doing a clinical check?
That's a very logical pushback. And thermoregulation is absolutely a massive driver of feline behavior. They are heat seekers.
Right.
However, the source text pushes past the warmth theory by focusing on the cat's reaction to deviation.
Deviation from what?
The transcript provides a crucial caveat, saying the cat does not understand disease.
It is not a tiny physician making a medical diagnosis.
What it possesses, instead, is hypervigilance regarding baseline normality.
Baseline normality, meaning they know what regular looks and sounds like.
Precisely. If they just wanted warmth, they would sleep and ignore you. But the text indicates they are actively monitoring.
They know the exact rhythm of your chest rising and falling.
They know the ambient temperature of your skin. And they notice the millisecond that, as the text says, your body is different.
They detect the apnea. They detect the shallow breathing.
Which brings up a fascinating question of motivation based strictly on what Calm Logic has outlined so far.
Are they monitoring us out of a sense of protective love, like a parent checking on a sleeping infant?
Or, if we combine this with the very first point the video made, that we are territory. The chair is this essentially just property maintenance?
Is the landlord going down to the basement to check if the boiler is still functioning?
That is the brilliant, unsettling ambiguity at the heart of this source text. The creator doesn't force a human moral framework onto the cat's motivation.
They simply present the stark reality of the behavior.
But the imagery they use to convey this is incredibly potent.
Consider this specific line from the transcript. Some nights, it does nothing at all. It just lies there, one paw on your chest, holding still like it is watching over you.
Holding still like it is watching over you. That paints a picture of a silent sentinel in the dark.
A single paw anchored to your sternum, feeling the mechanical thud of your heartbeat.
You are completely oblivious, exploring some dreamscape, while this creature spends hours just anchored to your life force.
It is a profound, almost cinematic moment in the script. It's so impactful that the creator literally stops the flow of the video to force the audience to confront it.
Right. The video actually pauses for an audience poll right after this revelation.
The creator says, if this part gives you chills, comment 1. If your cat has ever done this, comment 8.
It's a very clever mechanism to make the listener break out of passive consumption and search their own memory.
Have you ever woken up at 3 a.m. with that weight on your chest?
You probably blinked, assumed they were hungry, and went back to sleep.
But Calm Logic suggests they were verifying you hadn't expired.
It demands a complete reevaluation of those midnight interactions. Your assumption shifts from they want cuddles to they're auditing my continued biological viability.
And what's truly humbling is that they're doing this with a level of sensory precision that we simply do not possess.
We don't even realize our own breathing has become shallow, but they register the shift immediately.
Which serves as a perfect conceptual bridge to the next dimension of feline observation.
Because after establishing this intense clinical monitoring of our physical vital signs, the Calm Logic text pivots.
It pivots to an entirely different, arguably more sophisticated kind of sensitivity.
We shift from the physical realm into the emotional realm.
The fourth point in the transcript is titled simply emotion.
And the creator introduces this shift by acknowledging the change in tone, saying, this one feels softer, but it is true.
It provides a necessary narrative counterbalance to the clinical coldness of the midnight health checks.
And the stark manipulation of the vending machine dynamic.
The scenario the text outlines here is deeply resonant. It says you feel sad, you stay quiet, you sit alone.
And in response, the cat initiates contact.
But the text is painstakingly specific about the nature of this physical touch. It describes it as very gentle, no noise, no attention-seeking, just I am here.
What is most impressive about Calm Logic's analysis here is how aggressively it resists the urge to over-anthropomorphize the animal.
Even while discussing something as complex as emotional empathy.
Let's define anthropomorphizing for a second, just to be crystal clear.
Absolutely. Anthropomorphizing is when we take a very complex alien psychology, like feline behavior, and cram it into neat, recognizable human emotional boxes.
Because it makes us feel comfortable.
It's attributing human intent to non-human entities. So when a dog looks guilty after tearing up the trash, we say he feels bad.
When in reality, he's just displaying appeasement behaviors to avoid punishment.
Right, projecting our own stuff onto them, and the text actively avoids doing this.
It does. Look at the exact phrasing the creator uses. Your cat does not understand your story, but it senses one thing: you are different.
It does not understand your story. I have found that to be such a grounded, almost beautiful way to phrase it.
It's vital context. The cat does not possess the cognitive framework to understand human socioeconomic struggles.
It doesn't know that you were laid off, or that you are navigating a messy divorce.
Or that you are experiencing an existential crisis. It doesn't understand the narrative of your grief.
But what it does possess is that exact same hypervigilance we discussed regarding your vital signs. It knows your baseline.
It knows the usual decibel level of your speaking voice.
It knows your typical walking speed through the kitchen.
It knows the normal chemical pheromones you emit when you're just sitting on the couch watching TV.
Yes. And when you are experiencing profound sadness or trauma, your biological and environmental baseline shifts dramatically.
You are physically quieter. You become lethargic. Your body odor changes due to the release of stress hormones like cortisol.
The environmental baseline is shattered. To quote the text, you are different.
And what's fascinating is the cat's response to this difference.
It isn't panic. It isn't the manipulative button pressing we saw earlier.
It is pure, unadulterated presence. The silent empath.
If you think about complex human relationships, sometimes the absolute worst way a person can react to your grief is by demanding that you explain it to them.
They want the whole story.
They want to offer unsolicited advice. They want to fix the problem.
Which ends up requiring a massive amount of emotional energy from the person who is already depleted and hurting.
It's the burden of explanation.
A burden the feline companion entirely bypasses.
Completely. The cat is like that one rare friend who knows you are going through absolute hell, walks into your house, doesn't ask a single probing question,
Doesn't demand you justify your emotional state.
and just comes over and sits silently next to you on the couch, just places a hand on your arm. I am here.
The transcript highlights the profound elegance of this specific behavioral response.
It says it does not need to do anything else. Just being there is enough. Sometimes it taps, then sits next to you. Sometimes it taps, then lies down near you.
It is the absolute antithesis of the biological vending machine dynamic.
In that earlier scenario, the tap was a command. It was a button press engineered to force you into action.
Get up, feed me, open the door.
But here, the exact same physical mechanism, a paw tap, is utilized to demand absolutely nothing.
It is an extraordinary demonstration of contextual vocabulary. Think about how sophisticated that is.
The exact same physical word, right?
The paw tap. It can translate to dispense nutritional resources immediately in one specific context.
And I acknowledge your altered biological state and offer silent solidarity in another.
This places a massive burden of comprehension onto us. It demands that humans become fluent in reading the surrounding environmental context.
Rather than just blindly reacting to the physical sensation of the touch.
And Calm Logic provides another, much lighter example of this subtle emotional communication that I thought was completely charming.
The creator notes that sometimes after you feed the cat or clean its space or gently pet it, the cat will offer a very light tap.
The transcript translates this micro-interaction as, yeah, I know.
Or, as it explicitly states, cats also say thank you, just very quietly.
Not everyone notices this, but if you watch long enough, you will see. Again, the text places the onus of observation on the human.
The cat is broadcasting gratitude, but it is whispering it. It is not throwing a parade.
If you are distracted by your phone, or if you are locked into the rigid assumption that cats are inherently aloof and selfish, you will completely miss the thank you.
It's a fundamental mismatch in how different species display appreciation.
Humans, and by extension dogs, often expect loud, obvious, kinetic displays of gratitude.
Jumping, tail wagging, vocalizing.
But the cat offers a subtle, dignified acknowledgement.
It makes you wonder how many thousands of silent thank yous a typical pet owner misses over a lifetime simply because they weren't paying close enough attention to the micro movements.
Which is precisely why deep dives into this kind of behavioral analysis are so illuminating. They tune our sensory perception to a finer frequency.
Okay, so we've analyzed the fleeting touches, we've decoded the tap for control, the tap to monitor respiratory function.
The gentle tap of empathy and the quiet tap of gratitude.
But the calm logic text introduces one final scenario. What happens when the paw touches you and it doesn't pull back?
It just stays anchored there.
This brings us to the final behavioral code outlined in the transcript, which is controlling space.
The architect of boundaries, the creator, sets the scene very specifically.
You are lying down, it places its paw on you and keeps it there. It does not pull back, it does not move.
The text is adamant that that is not random. It translates this sustained physical contact as a declaration, this is my spot.
Now, at first glance, a listener might think this sounds identical to the very first concept we discussed.
Claiming ownership and leaving the scent map.
I have that exact same pushback. How is a sustained paw any different from stamping you with scent glands and declaring you are my chair?
Isn't it driven by the exact same territorial instinct?
It's an excellent question, and understanding the distinction is critical.
The first concept, leaving the scent map, is a passive, invisible marker.
It is laying down a chemical broadcast for future reference.
It's the equivalent of putting your jacket on the movie theater seat and then walking away to get popcorn. The scent does the work while the cat is elsewhere.
Okay, I see.
This final concept, however, is about active, physical enforcement in the present moment.
So the scent is a keep-out sign, but the sustained paw is a physical barricade.
Exactly. If we connect this behavior to the broader picture painted by the text, we see the cat evolving from a cartographer drawing invisible maps into a bouncer actively managing the velvet rope.
The transcript provides very specific examples of how this physical block is deployed.
It may block across your body, or lie between you and another animal, or place its paw in a way that you cannot move.
In a way that you cannot move. There is an incredible physical assertiveness to that phrasing.
It is a display of absolute spatial dominance. The cat is utilizing its own body mass to dictate the geography of the room.
And specifically leveraging the anchor point of the extended, rigid limb.
The creator notes, it looks gentle, but the meaning is very clear. It is controlling the space around you, who can come close, who cannot.
The psychology of how humans react to this is fascinating to me. Picture it. The human is lying on the couch, watching a movie.
The cat jumps up, lies down next to them, and extends a stiff arm across the human's chest.
The human brain, clouded by that desire for affection we talked about at the beginning, interprets this as, oh look, we are cuddling, we are locked in a loving embrace.
But the cat's brain, in executing a tactical defensive maneuver,
They are constructing a physical fortress, and you are simply the load-bearing wall they are bracing against.
you are perceiving intimacy while the cat is executing crowd control.
It is actively determining the flow of traffic in the living room.
If the dog attempts to jump onto the couch, the cat has already established the physical boundary line with its body.
If your partner tries to sit down next to you, the cat's extended limb serves as a physical do not enter sign.
Calm logic hits us with a recurring motif right here. The text says, you think you're the owner, sometimes you are not.
It utterly shatters the illusion of domestic authority.
You might hold the deed to the property, but in that specific moment, on that specific couch, the feline is the zoning commissioner.
They dictate the spatial dynamics, and we, the humans, largely comply without ever realizing we are taking orders.
We absolutely comply. We joke about it all the time.
Oh, I can't get up to get a glass of water. The cat is on me.
We literally paralyze ourselves. We freeze our own lives to respect their spatial engineering.
We willingly submit to the boundary.
It is a masterclass in nonverbal manipulation.
So we've decoded the 5 specific messages from the Calm Logic text.
We've journeyed from invisible chemical mapping to operant conditioning,
To nocturnal health monitoring, to silent emotional observation, and finally to physical spatial dominance.
but to truly understand this deep dive, we need to zoom out. We have to look at the document itself.
Yes, we need to transition from analyzing the feline behavior to analyzing the meta layer of how this information was presented to us.
Precisely. Because the structural architecture of the transcript itself is just as fascinating and manipulative as the information it contains.
We are looking at the anatomy of algorithmic survival.
It is impossible to ignore the rhetorical design of the source text. It isn't just an educational essay.
It is a specialized tool engineered to function within a highly competitive, ruthless digital ecosystem. YouTube.
Let's examine the constant calls to action woven directly into the narrative flow. We touched on one earlier during the Midnight Vital Signs segment.
The creator pauses the video and says, "Before we begin, answer quickly. Has your cat ever placed its paw on you while you were sleeping? If yes, comment wit. If not, comment un."
And later in the script, they interject with, "What about your cat? When does it touch you the most? Comment and share your story."
But the part that truly exposes the reality of this ecosystem is the sheer urgency behind the requests.
The creator literally states, "Do not stay silent. Silence kills the channel."
That is such a raw, desperate plea woven right into the middle of an analytical script about animal behavior.
If we break down the pattern of how the information is packaged and delivered, we see a content creator who is acutely aware of the psychology of audience retention.
Look at how they tease the vital signs information at the very beginning of the video.
Remember, reason number 3 is the one that makes many people go silent.
They are actively building suspense. It functions as a psychological hook engineered to prevent the viewer from clicking away to another video.
They understand that a viewer's attention span is incredibly fragile, so they drop these breadcrumbs of intrigue.
Stick around, the truly shocking part is coming.
And when you lay that strategy out clearly, it creates a rather stunning parallel, doesn't it?
It's the operant conditioning all over again.
Exactly. Let's revisit the concept of the biological vending machine. The cat has intensely studied the human mechanism.
It knows exactly which button to press the light paw tap to compel the human to perform the desired function.
Whether that's dispensing food or opening a door.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Now look at the content creator. The creator has intensely studied the mechanism of the YouTube algorithm and human psychology,
They know exactly which psychological buttons to press on the viewer.
promising them chills, building artificial suspense, demanding specific comment codes within the first 60 seconds.
All to compel the algorithm to perform the desired function, promoting the video, generating ad revenue, and keeping the channel from dying.
That completely reframes my understanding of the entire viewing experience.
The creator is treating the audience exactly the same way the cat treats the human.
We, the viewers, are the biological vending machines for the YouTube channel.
We are being tapped emotionally and psychologically to dispense engagement metrics.
The structural feedback loop is absolutely identical. The cat learns the more you follow that touch, the more it learns this human can be controlled.
And the creator learns the more I utilize these aggressive engagement hooks, the more the algorithm learns this video should be pushed to a wider audience.
It is a raw display of survival tactics playing out on both a micro-domestic level and a macro-digital level.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And recognizing that desperation makes the final sign-off of the transcript surprisingly emotional.
After deploying all these calculated algorithmic survival tactics, the creator drops the curtain.
They step out of the engagement hacking persona and reveal a moment of genuine vulnerability.
It is a striking and unexpected shift in tone to conclude the piece.
They say, you see this video, but behind it there is a whole team. Someone adjusts every single frame, someone writes every single line, someone spends hours just to make everything feel natural.
And then they thank that invisible team.
They thank the platform for existing, and they thank the viewer for staying until the very last second.
It serves to rehumanize the entire process. Think about the arc of this deep dive.
We spent the first 45 minutes deliberately de-anthropomorphizing the cat.
Stripping away our warm human projections to reveal the cold, clinical reality of its chemical mapping and behavioral conditioning.
But the end of the transcript asks us to do the inverse, to re-anthropomorphize the digital content.
It asks us to remember that behind the slick editing, the suspenseful music, and the algorithmic engagement hooks, there are exhausted human beings.
Grinding away, adjusting frames, just trying to survive and mark their territory in the digital landscape.
It is essentially the silent empathy we discussed earlier, but applied to the creator-viewer relationship.
They don't know our individual stories, but they are saying, thank you for being here and supporting this.
Just very quietly.
It brings the entire thematic structure of the text full circle in a very elegant way.
It really does. Let's briefly recap the immense ground we've covered today.
We started with the comfortable illusion of the cozy, loving paw tap.
And by applying the analytical lens of the Calm Logic transcript, we have decoded that simple touch into a vast, multi-layered vocabulary.
We've discovered that it encompasses chemical territorial ownership, the invisible scent map that quite literally turns us into furniture.
It includes active behavioral conditioning, turning intelligent humans into biological vending machines that dispense resources on command.
It reveals the chilling reality of nocturnal vital sign monitoring, where our biological viability is audited while we are entirely defenseless.
It highlights a profound, silent empathy, where the animal detects the pheromonal and behavioral shifts of our grief and offers unburdened presence.
And finally, it encompasses spatial dominance, where the cat acts as the uncompromising architect of our physical boundaries.
It's an entire universe of communication hidden inside a single gesture.
So, my advice to you listening, echoing the source text directly. The next time your cat places a soft little paw on your arm, do not immediately retreat to the comfortable, familiar movie script.
Don't just automatically think, oh, look how much it loves me.
You must analyze the environmental context, evaluate the baseline.
Exactly. Look around and ask yourself honestly, in this exact moment, am I just a chair?
Am I a programmable vending machine? Am I a patient undergoing a medical audit?
Or am I just a human who needs a silent friend to sit next to them?
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over.
We have discussed at length the text's assertion that cats are acutely, almost unnervingly sensitive to our biological and emotional baselines.
They register the micro shifts in our breathing, our stillness, and our chemical output when we are stressed or sad.
Shifts that we are largely oblivious to ourselves.
They are paying attention to the data when we aren't.
Precisely. So consider the implications of this. If these tiny territorial creatures spend hours in the dark observing our deepest sleep patterns,
And perfectly registering our subtle emotional and physical deviations.
is it possible that our pets actually possess a more accurate, real-time understanding of our physical and mental health than we do?
We operate under the assumption that we are the caretakers, managing their diets, their environments, and their veterinary care.
But what if, translated through the silent, complex language of the paw tap, they're actually the ones managing us?
What if we've been the patients all along? It certainly makes you view that cozy creature sleeping at the foot of your bed in a completely different and slightly unnerving light.
It really does.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Next time you feel that tap, pay attention.